Welcome back. We had a flag raising and we're back to our committee meetings now. So we're going to start our Invest GP committee meeting. On this committee is myself, Councillors O'Connor, Councillor Blackmore, and Mayor Clayton. And so we'll dive right into our agenda. We have no delegations, and so we'll start with our first report, which is our service area update, and I'll go to Chief McEachern for that, please.
Thank you, Chair. For the service area update this week, under economic development, new businesses and local engagement, June 21st to August 6th, we had 35 new businesses opened. Of those, 15 were home-based and 20 were commercial. On the rural renewal stream front, we do have the report, which is coming committee today, and the Economic Review Committee has 2 barrier-free grant applications under review. And also InvestGP joined an online rural renewal stream summit hosted by the Alberta Association of Immigrant Servicing Agencies to engage with other municipalities and service providers. And I must say, out of that, I was advised that our team here with InvestGP received kudos on the effectiveness and the passion and the hard work that they put into the work that they do, and that they are leaders in this fairly new initiative. So I just want to acknowledge the great work that the team has done on this. Under events and entertainment, Brian Adams has now opened 200 additional seats for the show. They're on the side stage. This will sell out, so anyone who's interested should get those tickets quite soon. The Bennetts Energy Centre, November 29th. I know I'm excited. I have my tickets to this one, and I'm sure that one's going to sell out as well. Canadian country star Aaron Goodwin and Barney Bento have been announced as the headliners for Experience Grande Prairie on September 1st. And renovations to the Brant Skyloft and the Bennetts Energy Suite at Bennetts Energy Centre will begin on August 21st. We have an estimated completion date of October 1st. And with that, Chair Palat, I'll take any questions.
Okay, thanks for your report, Ms. McEachern. Any questions? Not seeing any in council and chambers or on Zoom, so we'll move on to our next item, 3.2, our Telecom tower, and I'll look to Chief Glavin to introduce this one, please.
Thank you, Chair Palat. Administration has received an application for a 30.5 meter telecommunications tower in the Albenetti Industrial Park, and we have Development Officer Diane Tennant here to present the report.
Thanks, Chief Glavin. Let's get a moment to get set up here.
Is the mic turned on?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. This application is requesting a letter of attestation for a proposed telecom tower on the applicant's own property at 9640 136th Avenue, which is in the Albenetti industrial area. Administration recommends support of this application. Proposed tower is 30.5 meters or 100 feet in height, and it is a lattice type, which is similar to what is on the screen. The tower will be used to provide wireless internet and radio voice service, as well as they will be using it for training of their staff who work with these type of towers for rescue type operations. The proposed location is in an industrial area, and it is surrounded by other industrial areas and as well as urban reserve land. There's over 600 meters from this proposed tower to the nearest residential property in Lakeland. The applicant has received approval from Transport Canada, and since the writing of the report, they've also received approval from NAV Canada. The applicant is looking for a letter of attestation or support from this committee. This is not a development permit. Telecom towers are approved by Innovation Science and Economic Development Canada, and the letter from the city is included as part of their application. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Any questions on the report? Seeing none, we'll go to Councillor Blackmore for the business arising.
Yes, I would move that committee support this proposal for a telecommunication tower and provide the appropriate letter.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Blackmore. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, we'll call that to question, please. Councillor O'Connor, how do you vote? They look froze up, Amanda. Oh, sorry.
It's my
Councillor O'Connor in favor.
Okay. Thanks, Councillor O'Connor. And that carries unanimously. And move on to 3.3. Thanks for presenting the report. 3.3, the rural renewal stream. And I'll ask Chief McEachern to introduce this one, please.
Thank you, Chair. So I'll just allow time for Kim Pinnock, our Director of the area, will be providing the report. And with Ms. Pinnock is Ainsley Miller and Amy Duell, who are two of our team members who are dedicated to the rural renewal stream. So with that, I will pass it over to Ms. Pinnock.
All right. Thanks, ladies.
Good morning, and thank you, and through the chair. Thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on the Rural Renewal Stream Immigration Program that's run through our InvestGP service area and the Economic Development Department. As Chief McEachern noted, I'm pleased to have with me our subject matter experts, Ainsley Miller, our Economic Development Officer, who has been our staff lead on this file since shortly after we launched the program last August, and Amy Duell, our Rural Renewal Stream Coordinator, who is managing the daily running of the program. This report is intended to provide Council with an update on the program and to address some of the areas where Council was seeking additional information in terms of how to market the program, some housing, and other community supports. So Grande Prairie was the second community in the province to receive designation status and officially launch our program a year ago in August of 2022. And since then, it has seen tremendous uptake and exponential growth. As we enter the second year of a 3-year designation with the opportunity to extend for an additional 2 years, we're considering our current capacity within InvestGP within the community, along with a provincial allocation of roughly 630 candidates annually that have been identified for the rural renewal stream. Since inception, InvestGP has focused on several key areas as we've developed the program within the provincial mandated regulations for the rural renewal stream. So first is a focus on employers. We're working with employers and have set up the program to be one tool for employers to support them in addressing their labor force challenges. There's a desire to see candidates, immigrants and their families successfully integrate to our local workplaces and community, and we want them to stay and build a life in Grande Prairie even after they get their permanent residency status. And the third thing is Council's strategic goals in alignment with resourcing and budget. So the recommendations that you see before you in the report have been discussed and debated with the best interest of employers, candidates, and the city in mind. Before I get into the recommendations, I just want to provide a little bit more context to Council on the program as a whole. So the province has allowed each designated municipality to design their own screening process and decide who to provide letters of endorsement to. Some communities charge a fee, some focus on specific sectors, some allow businesses to work with external consultants, some do not. But all communities, based on our discussions, have identified housing as something that could impact their programs and the number of newcomers that they could welcome to their community. Since we started this program, we've provided endorsement letters, this is end of Q2 numbers, to a total of 324 candidates. This number grows as we get more endorsement requests and employers make job offers to qualified candidates. We are working with over 865 endorsed jobs, meaning that since the start of this program, we have had employers, 169 at the end of Q2, who have applied to us to be designated and for us to endorse the positions that they are recruiting to. Some employers have just one position and some have multiple positions. At the outset of the program, we did not place any restrictions on how many positions employers could recruit through this immigration stream, but we have since placed a cap of 25% on the total positions that any employer at any specific commercial site could recruit through this stream. For each position endorsed, it means that if the employer finds the right candidate, it could mean that we would issue an endorsement letter to them. And that number doesn't reflect the additional dependents that could be accompanying any one candidate. The exponential growth that InvestGP has seen since program launch, and particularly in the past 4 months, has meant that our ability to explore the candidate integration component of the program and additional strategic refinements have been limited. Of the roughly 300 candidates issued endorsement letters, we were able to identify that about 100 of those are currently here and working. That's a point-in-time count, and that's always changing. Municipalities are not provided updates from the province on where candidates are in the process. So in order to gather this information, InvestGP will need to continue to enhance our follow-up and reporting with both employers and candidates. And this work will take additional time and resources, but will be a necessary part of the program reporting so we can best plan for newcomer integration and support our employers. So we've seen a significant increase in the number of general inquiries, candidate emails, and general requests for jobs. And we've also seen that council is receiving more and more of these emails as well. All of those requests can be sent to immigration@cityofgp.com, where they will be triaged and tracked by our team using our customer relationship management software system. To give council just an idea of the scale of growth, we did some analysis on the total outgoing correspondence for the program on a month-over-month basis. And in January 2023, we had over 200 pieces of outgoing correspondence. In March, that number jumped to 887. And in June, we were settling at about 726. So the team is daily managing a significant volume of work, which leads us to consider resourcing, but also evaluate the impact of the program's growth on the city, services, and service providers. In March of this year, Community Social Development received grant funding from the province for the Grande Prairie Inclusive and Caring Community Initiative. InvestGP is working with CSD to identify how to best support our community, service providers, and employers in creating a welcoming and inclusive community, which will support the newcomers, some of whom will arrive through the Rural Renewal Stream program. In order to best understand our newcomer needs, we need to better understand our newcomers and be following up with them as they arrive in the community. Excuse me. In order to manage this next step of the newcomer journey, InvestGP will need to enhance our follow-up with employers and candidates, which will require additional time. By understanding our newcomer populations, we'll be able to work with CSD to identify opportunities and challenges that can be integrated into their work as part of their future programming. We are also working in partnership with other organizations in the community, and we understand that they are also seeing an increase in those accessing services. So with only 100 of the 300 newcomers here now, we need to plan for and adequately support organizations that will support us in this integration work. So we have included some advocacy items for a committee to consider in recommending to council for better information sharing between the province and municipalities, and also to advocate for additional funding for newcomer support organizations. And also to explore opportunities for community knowledge sharing forums so municipalities can learn from each other as we move into future years of this program. Council had asked if there were opportunities to market this program, and the answer is yes. But the reality is there has been tremendous interest in this program, and as we enter the second year, we want to be able to focus on supporting the sectors that continue to see challenges. We have over 300 positions currently advertised and over 500 positions that are endorsed, still to be filled. Some of those were recently endorsed, and others were endorsed earlier this year and still don't have candidates that have made a match there. So in order to be able to build and support additional targeted marketing, we'll need to scale back the total applications we're accepting so we can focus on the quality of the applications. We also know that the province has an allocation of roughly 630 through Rural Renewal. And while they've noted that this isn't a hard cap, we are seeking further clarity on the percentage of candidates that have been endorsed that are being successfully nominated. Because the program is still new, we also have limited data to share on successes to date. InvestGP and our partners need to understand the allocations as we want to maximize our success ratio, and we would like to focus on the quality of candidates over just pure quantity, recognizing that there are many other designated communities putting forward nominees, and the volume may not equate to successful nominations. And we also want to ensure that we are adequately supporting newcomers who arrive and potentially need additional supports. We've shared a basic comparison chart in the report between the Temporary Foreign Worker Program and Rural Renewal. And you can see that under this program, the required support on the employer side is much more limited than they were under the Temporary Foreign Worker Program. These are not the same program. This is a pathway to permanent residency, not temporary foreign workers. And under this program, it's the candidate responsibility to manage things like housing. Under Temporary Foreign Worker programs, employers had to qualify under a number of specific criteria. Under Rural Renewal, it's much more broad. So as a result, InvestGP has identified areas where we would like to work with employers and candidates to ensure that they are best supported for success. So in summary, in order for InvestGP to be able to both screen and endorse candidates and best support integration, we will need to focus the program as we enter the second and third years. We are recommending this also because newcomers will need to be able to access local housing and supports, and we know that already with the volume of candidates endorsed and positions that are endorsed, which may be filled, we are already at over 800 potential newcomers. We know that the province has an allocation of around 630 for rural renewal. Again, while this isn't a hard cap, it is an allocation that we should be considering as we look at the volume of candidates that we endorse. We are recommending that we pause the intake of new employer applications, except for a couple of categories, to the end of the year to allow our team to focus on some strategic and process improvements needed for the program. And we are recommending that we endorse a total of 300 candidates annually. In order to be able to select and prioritize candidates, we will need to restructure our selection process and will likely need to pivot to a batched intake. And we've identified some criteria that we would use to prioritize the selection of employers and endorsed positions, and those are noted in Appendix A, Bullet B. We've done some estimates and believe that with one FTE working on this program, 300 would be the maximum that we can manage for screening and follow-up. This has been a tremendously successful program in terms of interest from employers and candidates, and we want to ensure that as we enter future years that we keep the spirit of the program and continue to select the best candidates in collaboration with local employers to continue growing our community and our labor force. And with that, we will be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thanks for that, Ms. Pinnock. I'm just going to start with Councillor Blackmore, please.
Thank you, Councillor Palat. When I look at Appendix A, I see a couple things there that I need you to interpret better for me. 1A says hold all new employer applications until December 31st. So that's, by saying hold all, you mean you're not taking any more intake?
That is correct. So outside of employers that may be having positions in eligible skilled trades, healthcare, childcare, or professional services, we would be holding all other new employer applications. But we would continue to provide letters of endorsement to candidates for positions that employers have already been endorsed for. And that would be the total of the 500 positions.
Okay. And then when you say you're going to cap, going forward, you're going to cap at 300. Is that 300 including skilled trades, healthcare, childcare, professional services, or in addition to?
That would include.
Okay. And then, Councillor Plata, my third question is, I see that you're considering excluding businesses that are selling cannabis or liquor, and I'm wondering why, and I'll let you answer that, and then I might have a follow-up question.
Thank you, and through the chair. In order for us to scale back and prioritize, we will need, on one hand, to limit some of the businesses that we would consider as part of the program. And it's a question of growth and whether or not that is an area where council wants to see additional growth in the community on the business side, or if they would prefer to prioritize in other areas.
My follow-up question is why there are a lot of businesses that fit the temporary foreign worker model really well. Why would we not exclude those businesses from the rural renewal stream, such as restaurants? They have a really strong connection to the temporary foreign worker program already. I'm wondering if we could be better served putting workers someplace else.
Maybe I'll, through the chair, kick that one over to our economic development officer.
I just want to make sure that I understand. You're asking why we wouldn't encourage them to use temporary foreign worker program instead of rural renewal?
Correct.
The rural renewal stream is life-changing. It's a pathway to permanent residency. It's both a fast track to permanent residency and an opportunity to permanent residency that many people don't have. When you come in as a temporary foreign worker, it's expensive for the employer. It's $1,000 per application. And once you name a person on that application, if they do not arrive in the country, you lost your money and you still have to reapply for another position for $1,000 again. So they do make changes to that program, but for an employer, it's expensive. And the Rural Renewal Stream, it's an opportunity to become a Canadian citizen in the future. So as a temporary foreign worker, you have no rights. You are not a Canadian citizen. You don't vote here, and you have to leave the country when you're expected to. As a permanent resident, you're almost a Canadian citizen. You have the ability to change employers, to change companies, to change locations, as any Canadian does. So for an employer, when they bring in a temporary foreign worker, they are filling a staff problem, but it's also expensive and a long solution, and they have to leave the country. When you're bringing somebody in under rural renewal, you have the potential to build loyalty to your employment and to your community. But for that candidate, especially if you're considering someone who's already living in Canada, who's maybe on a visitor or a student open work visa, who's looking for their opportunity to become Canadian, they will move here for that. So being able to use the Rural Renewal Stream to recruit people to Grande Prairie is a huge opportunity for employers.
I guess I'm not asking you to tell me the difference between the programs, because I understand that. But we need to find some way of slowing or cooling the program down, because we cannot afford the staff time to process. We cannot find places for people to live, and it's a handicap. So I'm saying, if we're going to restrict cannabis and liquor stores, are those the only places that restrictions make sense? And if companies are well attuned to the temporary foreign worker plan already, why would we not encourage them to continue using that process? And as far as people becoming Canadian citizens, I assure you that many people who came here as temporary foreign workers are still here, and they are permanent residents or Canadian citizens. So it's not a restrictive program, it's just a simply longer program.
Can I answer? You're asking why we didn't limit more industries or more sectors from being able to use Rural Renewal Stream in future. Okay. When we looked at businesses inside the city of Grande Prairie, and we looked at reviewing all of the different types that there were, 2 industries increase in psychological services that were required and available in the city. So it's really easy to say we would like to prioritise different sectors. It's really hard to actually do that. So how do we prioritise is by actually excluding some. We could have chosen to exclude more industries and sectors, and we were very limited on what we did exclude. And it was based on business licensing numbers and what we wanted to encourage within the city, and that would be only our recommendation. Is that fair?
Do you have any?
Go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I do have a fairly full queue here. Councillor O'Connor, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Palat. To the ladies, I see on the no housing requirements are required, and as we are well aware that finding housing is a little bit difficult. Have you heard any expression from your applicants or your employers that there needs to be a better strategy going forward? So is your committee working on any kind of a strategy for housing?
Through the chair, there are some, because right now only about 100 of, or over 100 of the total endorsed candidates are here right now, we haven't heard that that people aren't able to find housing. Although we recognize that once everybody is here that's endorsed, once they all arrive, that will be another 200, more than 200 that are endorsed. And as the applications increase and more are provided with a letter of endorsement, we will have more and more people within the community. There are, we do ask employers on their application form to let us know what they will do to help candidates secure housing. So while it isn't a program requirement, we have sort of placed place that as a question that we're sort of evaluating and making sure employers know that candidates may need some of that support as they come. We also have some initiatives within the city right now that we're looking at generally around housing. So all of those combined will take time, I guess, to come to fruition. But right now, we are hearing that with the cycling through, even though there's a fairly low vacancy rate, that people are still able to find accommodations.
Thank you.
Is that all for you, Councillor? Okay. Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Plott. Following the questions, I'm actually going to make a motion to go in camera. I have some questions that are of an in-camera nature. First, my question in regards to Appendix A, Item B, the maximum being 300 employer vacancies, that's based on what you assess as being the current work capacity, and that's where the number's from? Where's the number from?
Through the chair, that is correct. Having one FTE processing the applications, just knowing the volume of where we're at and then the follow-up that we're going to require, 300 would be the maximum that we would be comfortable with.
Okay. More of a comment than a question. Cannabis and liquor stores pay property taxes and employ people. They buy business memberships at our local chamber. They support our communities. I find it kind of unfortunate to consider that they are two people that we wouldn't support in their needs for staffing. I think that the advocacy items as identified are fair. And then I think my other questions are probably best in camera, so I'll wait until in case there's other people in the queue.
Okay, so I'm just going to go through the queue and then I'll come back to you, Mayor Clayton, for that motion then to go in camera. Councillor Berg, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Palat. So it looks like you're a victim of your own success, and I'm glad that you're adapting rather than sticking to the original model as you do find challenges. Can you just kind of inform us, again, these are all solutions, can you tell us what your greatest challenges are in this program and what the employers are finding challenges in? And again, you address a lot of things on how we overcome it, but I just want to understand what you're up against.
Through the chair, I would say that the volume of inquiries has grown exponentially over the last couple of months. So not just employers that are interested in the program or fit the spirit of the program or have labor challenges, but just general inquiries. And as a municipality, we do need to have a mechanism in place to respond to all of those inquiries, even if we are not providing information on immigration to candidates. We still have auto replies. We still need to triage and look at the information coming in and see which ones we need to respond to. So just the general volume has been a really big challenge. We also want, we are limited in we're not enforcers. Employers are flexible and are able to hire the right candidates that fit their business. Our job is to support the employer as they find the right candidate for their business. We have put an application process in place to help to vet, to ensure that the employers that are coming to us wanting to participate in the program will have a welcoming and inclusive workplace, will consider the candidates and their needs as they come for housing and everything else. And that the candidates will success. As the program grows, there's also other risks that have been identified that come in from the community perspective if those pieces are not in place. And we want to ensure that the parameters that we're putting around the program both ensure that our employers are successful, the candidates are successful, and the city is protected as well.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Bosch, please.
Thank you, Chair Platt. That essentially was the answer to most of my question. Following up with these businesses, and sometimes staff coming in for various reasons doesn't work out. And if we potentially put a gold star to them, the employers having housing, and then things don't work out, what happens then? And so I'm curious on the follow-up side of it, if what happens when relationships don't work in the workplace, and where do our newcomers go, and what avenues do they have to get assistance perhaps there's something going on at that place of work that isn't conducive to a good relationship with the employee. So do we have any parameters on that?
Through the chair, one of the things that we have identified is providing more information and resources to newcomers that come so that they're aware of all the supports available if they should be in a position where they need additional support or guidance. That the Grande Prairie Centre for Newcomers does provide some of that support to newcomers, and they have a wealth of resources. And there are other community organizations that work kind of in that sphere. And so our job really is to provide the information to the newcomers and to ensure that they're well informed. And part of the strategic work that we'd like to do is to beef up the communications that we're sending out to those newcomers to ensure that they know if they happen to get into a situation like that, that they know where to go.
So if we're approving certain employers and then there is issues, does that, is there a follow-up to, maybe put an X on their record, or how does that work?
Through the chair, the province has provided us with a fairly good list of organizations, both at the provincial and federal level, that will follow up on certain issues that might be raised with employers. And, our process also is to understand what some of those challenges are and to work directly with our employers on that. But we are limited in some capacity in our ability to enforce certain things. We can control our own program, but even at the federal level, they do have public listings of employers that may be quote unquote blacklisted, I guess, or have done something, but those are not online for an indefinite period of time. Once those are addressed, they're taken down. So,
okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to call my own number for a couple questions, and then we'll go back to Mayor Clayton. I'm just curious on the appendix and just hearing that there's 630 kind of current vacancies. Why are we not advocating for more numbers in that area too? I'm just looking at our advocation priorities. Just we're asking for almost half of them if we get 300 of the whole province. So I'm just wondering why we're not advocating for that number to go up in general, or was there a thought behind that to the province?
Through the chair. We don't set the provincial allocations, they do, although we have met with them, and we do provide updates on a monthly basis on our program and our status, and both the opportunities and challenges that we see. The province, when we asked them about the cap, they did say, actually, they clarified it's not a hard cap, it's that allocation. And because this is a new program and a new stream, they're also evaluating and reevaluating their own program internally. And so we continue to inform them of how many candidates are interested in our community and how many we are looking to endorse. But to date, and we have reached out again to get further clarity, we haven't had any other information from them that allocation is changing. And there are a number of other streams. This is one of several streams that the province has for their provincial nominee allocation from the federal government around immigration.
Okay, so we're not concerned if that number doesn't increase, that asking for half of them every year from one city doesn't seem a little hoggish, I guess. I'm wondering if that was just more my thought, is the province going to be okay if we keep taking half of all the immigrants through the stream? My other question is just, can you just explain to me kind of what the process is if a business called in and said, hey, we're looking for temporary foreign workers? Like, what's that process look like now, and how have we streamlined it, and just is there ways to streamline that process even more?
So if they're looking for temporary foreign workers, I can't help them. I can only assist with the rural renewal stream. The application process is very straightforward. Our website is very clear, first for employers, then for candidates, as to what their steps are. For employers, they complete an application and they must meet a federal, provincial regulation as well as our municipal regulations. Once they complete that, we receive it. They are sent an automatic request for an employer declaration to be completed. So someone who's listed as a director on the corporate registry file must sign that and send it back to us. And then we start a regulatory review. So first we review the employer, then we review the occupation, and we make sure that it meets all of the requirements. If there's any specific need to that occupation, For example, it's a skilled trade and they're required to be qualified in Alberta to be eligible under this program. We talk through that with the employer so that they understand when they're recruiting what it is that they need to ensure that the candidate has before they recruit. Then we take their application forward to a community partnership. They meet once a month. The community partnership review all of the applications. Then the employer is sent their congratulations email and told how to endorse a candidate. Then they start their recruiting process, though they're not disqualified if there is an employee currently working for them that is looking for a pathway to permanent residency. They complete a job offer. The candidate and the employer both sign those. They complete a candidate endorsement request form. The candidate and the employer both sign those. When we receive them, we write a municipal endorsement letter. That is signed by the city and then sent to the candidate and CC to the employer.
Okay, sounds good. I don't see any other hands up, so I'm just going to go back to Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Plott. Just following a comment that Councillor Berg made, I appreciate it appears that we are very successful in this initiative. I've heard from many business owners that they are so thankful that we are part of this initiative. I think that there is opportunities in conversations in a better assessment through our business retention person to figure out more finite needs within our community. So business retention is calling business owners, from my understanding, on a regular basis. And with that, they should be able to have a rough forecast of the areas where we need people. And with that, then, you know, if we have a need for 500 and there's no hard cap, then let's try to get 500. I think placing 100 people out of 300, a 30% ROI on our investment, build a strong base for helping our businesses and our community be more successful by hiring people, creating diversity in our economy, and creating diversity in our community. I think this is a win all over. Unfortunately, I feel that the tone of this conversation is not as positive as the results look to me. So I look forward to have future discussions on this. But for now, I'd like to make a motion to go in camera, please.
Okay, thanks to that, Mayor Clayton. So we'll have a motion to go in camera. Just waiting for it to come up on our e-scribe. It didn't come up in mine. In favor. And Councillor O'Connor, how do you vote? It looks like he's froze on his screen, so. Oh, there he's moving. Councillor O'Connor, I'm not sure if you heard the motion to go into camera. Are you in favor? He's got a thumbs up. He must have audio issues, so. Thank you, and that carries. And with that, we'll go in camera. So we'll just take a minute to reset the room here. So just give me a minute to let. We've just come out of our in camera, so we're just coming back to our agenda meeting. And I'll look for some business arising, and I'll go to Councillor Blackmore, please.
Yes, I would move that we refer the rural renewal stream report to budget deliberations in the fall.
Okay, thanks. That motion is in order. Any conversation or debate on the motion? Seeing none, please vote. Councillor Plott in favor.
O'Connor in favor.
Where's Mike's working? And that carries unanimously. And we'll continue on with our agenda. We'll move down to our outstanding items list, and I'll look to Chief McEachern for that, please, as well.
Thank you, Chair. So for the outstanding items list, we have 2 items. The rural renewal stream report was the second one, which I would ask that it be removed from the outstanding items list, and the other one is on track to be reported on shortly.
Okay, thanks for that. Any questions on the report? Seeing none, I just look for a motion for business arising, please. Councillor Blackmore.
I move that we accept the outstanding items list.
Okay, thanks for that. That motion is in order. Councillor Plott in favor. Councillor O'Connor, how do you vote? In favor, with thumbs up. Audio issues. And that carries unanimously. And with that, we will close our Invest GP committee. We'll just take about a minute here, and then we'll move on to our Operational Services Committee.